Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below. Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga, as we are on the final leg of the Yellow Arc, the final half of this volume before we move on to Johto. But previously, we had the domino effect fall of the Elite Four. First to fall was Agatha, who took on Blue and Koga, and though Agatha, even after being defeated, still had a trick up her sleeve, it seems that Blue and Koga have managed to outdo her yet again. Next to fall, Lorelei, who was tricked by Green and Sabrina, and most recently Bruno, who was actually able to finally shake off the haze of the mind control he was under, getting to have his long-awaited rematch, true match, against Red. And after being soundly defeated, Bruno walked off, probably to continue his personal training. The only ones who have not been so lucky are Yellow and Blaine going up against Lance, as despite the fact that Blaine has control of Mewtwo, because of the bond that they share, all of the physical exertion or damage that Mewtwo receives is reflected back on Blaine. And, the clash ends up wearing too much on Blaine and he passes out. And any further exertion could potentially cost Blaine his life, so Mewtwo retreats for the time being. So it's up to Yellow, but unfortunately so many of her Pokemon are just not powerful enough to take on Lance. And it even looks as though Yellow has received what could be a finishing blow from Lance and his powerful dragon Pokemon. But could this truly be the end? It's a battle between those of Viridian Forest and Lance has let his ideals corrupt what could be a very pure heart. Could Yellow's purity help her pull through? Or is this the end? Join me as I find out, won't you? Alright, Bruno has walked off into the mist. Red saying, "Bruno, he's gone." And then suddenly Bill falls on top of him, pushed out of the protective barrier by Lieutenant Surge. Bill shouts, "Lieutenant Surge, what the heck?" Surge says, "One Elite Four member per team. That was the agreement. So I'm gonna go meet up with Sabrina and Koga now. See ya." And then he just takes off in the Magnemite barrier. Bill saying, "Well, how do you like that? Team Rocket to the core. What made me think he could ever turn into a good guy?" Bill then notices something saying, "Huh? Hey Red, look! There's a path beyond the wall that Jolteon's pin missile attack blasted through." Oh, where Yellow and Blaine were. Oh, and sure enough, there's Yellow's sketchbook as well as Red's Pokédex. Red rides over saying, my Pokédex and a sketchbook? What the heck? There's a picture of me? Bill realizes and says, "It's Yellow. Yellow was here." Red questions, "Who's Yellow?" Bill says, "That's right, you don't know. Yellow's the trainer that took care of Pikachu while you were missing, Red, and ought to be with Blaine battling one of the other Elite Four right now." Red says, "So if this Yellow's here, does that mean Pika is here too?" Bill tells him, "Change the mode on the mode to check on Pika's condition. It's a new thing that Professor Oak added to the Pokédex." Representation of Yellow version. And I don't know how he gets a reading from this, but Red says, "What? Pika's in some kind of danger." Red jumps on his bike and Bill tries to tell him, "Hey Red," but Red just carries him off on the bike saying, "Talk later." But Bill tells him, "Red, while we're riding, can you tell me something? There was an ice statue of you way up on Mount Moon that everybody was freaking out about. How do you get out of that thing? And on top of that, those evolutionary stones you were using just now, aren't they the legendary stones of Vermilion? I mean, what's going on here?" said the audience. Red tells him, "I didn't get out of the block of ice on my own. There was someone there who helped me. I got those stones from that person too." "Oh, okay. But who was it?" Bill says, "What? In chapter 85, Gimme Shelter." Like the Gimme Shelter, a song by the Rolling Stones, apparently. Interesting. Thank you, trivia. Meanwhile, we cut over to Erica, facing off with a horde of Shelter commanded by a Cloyster. Oh, Erica sees Shelter toss away Erica's badge, and Misty sees Haunter toss away Her badge. What? Misty gets on the phone with Erica saying the badges they just took. They just threw them away. Erica says same thing was done here. Misty questions, what does this mean? Right? Oh, were they looking for the Earth badge? Erica says, I can only think of one thing. This army is simply reacting to the energy emanated by the badges, attacking wherever they track it, but they are only trying to find the badges they do not have. Macy says, Team Rocket had been planning to make use of the energy that the 8 badges together would produce. Is the Elite Four going for the same thing? I have to assume so, yeah. An all-time powerful Pokemon. And here we have one of my favorite Kanto Pokemon, Ghastly Gengar. Faces off against Blue, striking from the shadows. Okay, still dealing with that. For some reason I thought we had settled that. Blue is knocked back by the Gengar. He's huffing and puffing hard, thinking to himself, if this continues, then my Pokemon and I will hit our physical limit. We won't have a chance. There are 2 things to consider in order to capture Gengar. The first is that this Gengar has the power to move from shadow to shadow. The second is that it's reaching to something, reacting to something before shifting shadows. I already know how it does. It jumps from shadow to shadow whenever the shadow of one crosses with another. Right now, since Koga and I have put so much distance between us, there's no longer any chance that it might jump from my or Porygon's shadows to Koga's, but I don't understand what it's reacting to. My gut instinct's right. When suddenly Gengar comes out of Blue's shadow, Blue and Porygon just narrowly managing to avoid the strike. Blue says, I was right. It's sound. It's reacting to any sound we make when we move or speak. Oh, Blue had tapped his foot on the ground and then Gengar went after him. Okay, I didn't even realize. Blue thinks, I figured since Agatha wasn't on the scene, there was something guiding it other than a trainer's commands. This trick has Agatha's nasty style written all over it. Blue takes a moment, thinking, but now that I know, what do I do? You can buy some time by being silent, but as Blue's sweat drips on the ground, his shadow shifts into the sneer of a Gengar, who strikes out at Blue, knocking him back. Blue says, so it won't even let me sweat, huh? Suddenly, something catches Blue's attention. He thinks, what's this smoke? As we see, Koga has let out his wheezing. That's letting out a lot of smoke in the area. Blue thinks towards Koga and gives a nod. Oh, they have a plan? A really great panel of Blue with his cloak fluttering in the wind. As he waits, Koga waits as well, like he's whispering something to his Pokeball. Oh. As some time passes, Koga says now as he brandishes a Pokeball with his Ekans inside. There's some kind of slam, and Gengar reacts, rushing out of the shadow. Oh, only to see the sound was made by the cut-off tail of Ekans. Blue appears behind Gengar with his Porygon saying, gotcha. That's a decoy, and he has Porygon use Psybeam on Gengar, which manages to down it. Are Gengar? I always forget, are they susceptible to psychic attack? Yeah, they're weak to psychic attack. I can never remember. Mostly because I always remember that episode where Ash specifically went to go get a Haunter in order to battle against Sabrina. It's like, wait, was that right? That doesn't seem right. Why would you get a ghost Pokemon to battle a psychic type Pokemon? Ghosts are weak to psychic attacks, so that don't make a lick of sense. But, that's how Pokemon works sometimes. Regardless, the Psybeam manages to down the Gengar. Blue says, we won. Koga says, I'm impressed that you were able to decipher the message in my coughing smoke. Oh? This was the only way to convey the idea of the tale to you, given that we couldn't make a sound. A message in the smoke? Yeah, I don't know what that message was, but whatever. Blue dusts himself off saying, I remember the characteristics of all my enemies' Pokemon for capturing purposes. I knew that an Arbok's tail can continue to move according to the creature's will in order to lure the enemy's attention away from the body. Oh, wait. Arbok's tail is still twitching, so Arbok's still controlling it even though it's been detached? Ugh, gross. Koga says, and that's something I can use for the ninja attack, the secret body switch. The severed tail came in unexpectedly handy, didn't it? By the way, Blue, that Gengar's ability to move in and out of shadows, a most unusual ability, was unmistakably Agatha's creation. That means we've defeated her, and there's no longer a need for us to be a team any longer. Oh, really? Most likely elsewhere, Lieutenant Surge and Sabrina are also blasting away the Elite Four. Just like Team Rocket, our mission should be nearly complete. I enjoyed making use of your powers. Blue remains silent as Koga tells him, and seeing your fighting skills firsthand, next time we meet as enemies, you won't be able to use the same tricks. Blue turns away saying, same here. The Gengar starts to get up. Blue shouts, don't move, and he commands Golbat to use, Flash? Oh, Blue says, with Golbat's Confuse Ray, I've lightened the entire cave. Shadows have been cut to a minimum. Do you really think I'd let you escape back into the shadows? Agatha is seen wobbling around the corner as Blue calls out to her. Agatha, obviously tired from everything that's gone on, says, you knew that I was lurking close. Very clever. And a very clever solution, too. Blue tells her, I couldn't use Golbat during the battle because of the noise its wings would make. It would only have drawn an attack, but I commanded it to do this if Gengar was defeated. Agatha simply says, remarkable. Blue asks, so how does it feel, Agatha? You laughed when I saved the Golbat, but now that same Golbat is preventing you from moving. Agatha, still smiling, simply says, that's my Blue, just like at the power plant. Your grandfather, Professor Oak, used to be such a man. Blue is shocked by this statement, as Agatha says, before the league battle when I attacked him in the hallway, he brought out Kangaskhan's Dizzy Punch against Gengar. He used an attack useless against ghost types on purpose. I shouldn't have let it get to me, but, well, I'm such a softie. He grimaces, saying he was good and brave and strong then. He isn't even the shadow of himself anymore, making silly little toys like the Pokédex. Oh, by the way, Blue, by lightening the place from above, aren't you overlooking something very important? Blue looks to an opening in the cavern that he can look out to the sky, saying, that being? And then he realizes, seeing the message that Starmie had written in the sky from Misty. Blue saying, Starmie is guiding light, a message written in the sky. Wait, is that an actual technique? Guiding light? Okay, now I'm curious. Yeah, I don't think that's real. Yeah, I think you made that up. Okay, I'm thinking you made that up. Koga spells out what's written, saying, the army of dragons has invaded the mainland, searching for badges. Elite Four's goal is badges, collective energy. What? Agatha says, that's right. With my last Gengar defeated, I no longer have the power to retaliate. But I've sustained much damage from the battle with that ninja here. I only have just enough power to escape, but it doesn't matter. I might have lost the battle, but I will see this war won. Even if we're all defeated here, the Elite Four's master plan is already well on its way to completion. The cave starts to rumble, and the floor starts to crack. Agatha says, it seems that Lance is going wild in the center of the island. She then uses Ghastly in order to escape in a cloud of smoke. As Blue calls out to Agatha, suddenly the ground beneath Koga collapses inward. Blue turns his attention to Koga trying to rush in, but Koga brings out his muck while his Golbat comes to his aid. As Koga uses the secret art of defense, Magic of Muck. Magic of Muck. I guess to soften the blow from his fall, as we see Muck splat on the ground. As Agatha fades into Ghastly's gas, she says, listen well, Blue. When all 8 badges come together on this island, Lance's plan will be complete. Now only one remains. For that one badge I sent the entire force to the mainland, and knowing Lance, we probably targeted it through a different means as well. Blue thinks the entire mainland force was controlled by Agatha alone. Agatha says, ordinarily it's not possible to mimic another's Pokeballs or control another's Pokemon, correct? But in my youth I studied how to do just that. I guess she just really wants to explain how brilliant she is. When I'm controlling a large number or manipulating them from a distance, I can only send out simple commands such as find the bad. That's why I need to keep the formation of troops simple. For the fighting and ice troops that I sent to the mainland, I give my commands to one group leader each, who in turn commands the rest of the troop. I had an advantage with my own ghost troop. The staggering power that emanates from the badges combined, I controlled Bruno with it too. The bands on his wrists are the same as the ones on my own Pokemon. Oh, I didn't even realize that. What? Oh, huh. But I don't suppose I need to explain that to you, do I, Blue? You saw yourself how Team Rocket used that power to combine the 3 different types. And of course, that's how we capture your dear friend Red. Blue says, so you were involved in Red's disappearance. He brings out his Charizard. Oh, and favorite Pokemon alert. Charizard, Charizard, Charizard. And he tells Charizard to barbecue that granny. But Charizard's flames pass right through Agatha, much to Blue and Charizard's shock. Agatha continues on saying, all of this happened really because that Pikachu escaped during the battle with Red, and the creature saw our attack, and most likely hatched its plan of attack against us at that point. I give it a little bit too much credit to Pikachu, I feel, but whatever. You must have realized that it's impossible to return energy already released. In order to overcome that energy, one can only counter with an even stronger force. Not that it could do anything like that unless it has something more powerful than Thunderbolt. I've talked too long, but then you are Oak's grandson. And now she does fade away. As Blue calls out to Agatha, but suddenly there's a blinding light through the crack. Blue thinks to himself, damn, dawn, the day's about to break. Can't see the message anymore. But thank you, good trainers. Because of you, I was able to get some valuable information. That sound. Blue listens as his Pokédex starts to beat. As he says, my Pokédex is resonating. That means that all 3 Pokédexes are in close proximity to each other. Oh, they beep when they're around each other? That never happened before. And it also gives off the signal that the proper owners are in possession of them, which that's weirdly specific too. That means that Red is alive and he's here. It means that Red has his Pokédex again, and Blue takes off on Charizard. Back with Red and Bill. Bill says, you're saying that not only did this person save you, but also gave you the stones? Who the heck is that person? Red says, well, I didn't see the face. Being frozen in a block of ice will do that to you. Oh, it was Giovanni? But after whoever it was got me out of the ice, he gave me the stones and said, take these with you, Red. You're not going to end here. Huh. And then he gave me this. He said this will lead you to yet another decisive battle. Okay, that makes even more sense. How he got the spoon? Of course it came from Sabrina. Who would have got the spoon from Sabrina? Giovanni. Bill says, the spoon of destiny. By following the bend of the spoon. Red says, by following the bend of the spoon, I've been able to make my way to this island. Suddenly, Red's Pokédex starts going off. Bill saying, whoa, blue and green. Blue and green must be nearby. Red says that. Bill says, you should hurry. You go on ahead without me. I'll follow you. Red says, okay. Meanwhile, we pick up with Yellow, surrounded by lava on one itty-bitty rock, screaming. In Chapter 86, Double Dragonair. As a rock almost crushes her, Lance says, you're finished. But suddenly, Pikachu leaps in towards the lava, managing to keep Yellow from falling in using Surf. Dang, that's metal. Yellow calls out to Pika, while Lance says, a surfboard for a lifeboat, eh? Clever. But you've only saved yourself from the lava for a few minutes. It's all lava below you, and you've got nowhere to go. What are you going to do now, Yellow? Being that close to lava, they'd be dead already, honestly. Yellow says, you can't lose now, not after coming this far. Let's go. And she and Pikachu surf the waves of lava. Lance says, using surf to cross lava? You are ingenious. Let's be honest. Who in their right mind would actually do that? If not for a desperate situation. Lance says, pity it's wasted. As he and Dragonite move in. Getting close, Lance reaches his hand out towards Pikachu. Yellow saying, what are you doing? And Lance uses his abilities on Pikachu. Yellow saying, he's reading Pikachu's thoughts? Lance says, so that's it. You and Yellow both grew up in the Viridian Forest. Pikachu gets angry and sends out a thunderbolt towards Lance. But Lance says, sorry, Pika. Hyper Beam. Dragonite unleashes a Hyper Beam that knocks both Yellow and Pikachu back. Lance saying, frustrated Pikachu? Sorry. Just because you came from the same forest I did doesn't mean you can't approach my power. Yellow says, what did you say? Wait, she didn't realize? Okay, whatever. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be too obvious, but Lance says, you heard me. I'm from the Viridian Forest too. I have the same empathetic powers that you do, Yellow. Yellow says, I knew it. Lance just tells her, good for you. Yellow says, fight back, Pika. Lance has his Dragonite use Hyper Beam, while Yellow has Pikachu use Thunderbolt. Yellow thinks, I knew Lance could read Pokemon's feelings, but how can he use those powers? The powers gifted us by the Viridian Forest for destruction. As Pikachu and Dragonite continue to clash, Yellow says, push back, Pika. While Lance says, Yellow, you're young, but you're among my better opponents, I'll grant you that. In fighting you so far, I've had to use 4 of these Dragonaire's powers. Yellow says, 4? Lance tells her, indeed. First, to gallop, not just across the seas but through the air. Second, to change the direction of energy blasts. But everybody uses Hyper Beam to do that. I thought it was unique to Dragonair before, but that has shown itself not to be the case. Third, to control the weather itself. And finally, toss their opponents around by combining their attack mode. In my easier battles, I usually only have to use the first and second powers. I save the third for my stronger enemies. It's rare that I have to use all 4. I'll give you a moment to take pride in that distinction, and then I'll point out that both Dragonair add up to only a fraction of my power. How many powers do you think I have at my command among all 5 of my Pokemon? As Pikachu is pushed back in the beam struggle, Lance says, I'm afraid that's a question you'll never answer, because it all ends here. Yellow struggles, thinking, I can't hold out much longer, what can I do? Suddenly, there's a rattling at her belt. Yellow thinking, Mewtwo. I remember Blaine told me to watch Mewtwo's battle closely, and as Pikachu continues to try to fend off Dragonite's attack, Yellow says, I can't command Mewtwo. I'm not its trainer, but if I can imitate its fighting style. As Yellow redirects Pikachu on the surfboard across the lava, Lance says, what are you doing, running away from me and into the lava? Dragonite unleashes another blast that Yellow and Pikachu just barely manage to avoid. Yellow is saying, Pika, you can do it. But suddenly Lance realizes something. Oh. As Yellow goes around and around in the lava, Lance says, what is that? That's spinning. It started a whirlpool in the lava? A clever trap that Mewtwo made before. Oh, Yellow says a clever trap that Mewtwo made before, but this time with lava. She says now, as I think Pikachu just used whirlpool. Lance says, no, I'm being sucked into it. Yellow says, not if you surrender now. Not if you pledge never to attack anyone again. As Lance and Dragonite struggle in the whirlpool of lava, Lance says, do you actually think you've won? Do you imagine you've beaten Lance? And Lance and Dragonite rush towards Yellow right through the lava. Yellow's shocked, saying, they ripped through the lava. They're charging. And Dragonite slams into the lava, almost throwing Yellow and Pikachu off balance. Almost submerged. Though apparently they're both submerged. I mean, even being that close to it would start to really singe the heck. You'd be pretty much incinerated, but I don't know how you guys are going to survive this. Oh, Yellow manages to get through the worst of it using Pikachu's surf, but suddenly she looks around and Lance is gone. She calls out, but questions if he's really gone. As Yellow looks towards the bubbling lava where Lance once was, she says there's nowhere to hide, and if he did sink beneath the lava, he can't possibly still be alive. We can't stay here, it's dangerous. We have to find Ratty and the others. Suddenly a string comes down towards her as she sees her Pokemon with Caterpie letting down the string. She says, it's them. Ratty, Dodie, Omni, Kitty, Gravy. Hooray! Is everyone alright? Okay, let's get back to where Blaine is. Pikachu starts to notice something, looking back towards where the lava was, before turning away and following Yellow as she runs over to Blaine. But in the lava, there's movement. We see Lance through the smoke. Yellow says, what's wrong, Pika? As a bubble wafts towards her face, questions this. Oh, what the heck? Lance, in some weird ball formed by the 2 Dragonair and Gyarados. Gyarados, one of my favorite Pokemon. Lance rises out with his Pokemon behind Yellow. He turns, much to her shock. Lance raises his hands, and a horde of bubbles come out. What the heck? Suddenly the bubbles start disappearing. Yellow sees this, saying the bubbles disappeared, and then she's suddenly struck from behind. She calls out, my arm, as she hits the ground hard. She says, bubble beam bubbles. A bubble protected him from that lava? But how? Kitty, I need a cast. Oh man, she broke her arm? Suddenly, all of her Pokemon are struck one after the other by the bubble beam. Really? Bubble beam strong enough to survive lava? Oh yeah, that's a little bit much. And we were already hitting on like, As Yellow calls out to her Pokemon. She says, I can't see his attacks. What's happening? As we see both the Dragonair as well as Gyarados using Bubble Beam. Yellow's hit on all sides by the bubble attack, saying the bubble attack is being launched by the true Dragonair and Gyarados. They're making different colored bubbles, each red, green, and blue. What? The primary colors of pure light. Oh, so sunlight starts to not reflect off of them. Can it be that when those three come together, they become simply white light, vanishing into the light of the sun and becoming invisible? Okay, yeah. I don't know if you could make them purely one color, though. Most bubbles are usually a bit of a rainbow, depending on what they're made out of, but As Yellow rushes away with her Pokemon, she comes to the edge of the crater, and then she jumps in? Oh! Caterpie uses a string shot all across the crater, creating a network of threads all throughout. As Yellow stands with her Pokemon on a nearby cliffside, she says, I've got to counter those invisible bubbles. Fucking bubbles! I'm sorry, that's a Nostalgia Critic reference, you won't get it. Yellow says to her Pokemon, everyone, listen closely, I have a plan. While I was running to escape, I told Kitty to spin out some thread. Can you see it? It's just thick enough that Lance shouldn't be able to see it yet. Now Ratty and Omni and Pika, you'll... Got it? We can't go up against them one at a time. Our timing has to be perfect. And she tells her Pokemon, go! Pikachu and Rattata leaping towards the lava. Omnanite and Caterpie staying with Yellow. And Doduo and Graveler rushing off along the rim of the crater. Lance calls out, you're not getting away, as his Pokemon send out more bubble attack. Yellow thinking if the bubbles vanish, this is it. But when one of the bubbles comes across one of the strings, Rattata communicates with Pikachu, and when the bubble hits, Pikachu zaps the string, causing the bubble to, stop? Lance is shocked, as Yellow seems to be defended against the bubble attack, as she thinks Ratty's sensitive whiskers will pick up the vibrations when the bubbles hit the thread, so Pika knows when to zap, and Omni's water droplets will conduct that electricity along Kitty's thread. Okay, so a string will be zapped. Because of the mixture of water and electricity, the bubbles will just pop. Lance says, a trap, but Yellow then yells out, now, our combined attack. As Graveler chucks Doduo, oh god, it's a fastball special, right towards Lance, and Doduo uses Drill Peck. But the bubble's tensile strength manages to fend off Doduo's attack before it even reaches Lance. Yellow is shocked, saying it didn't work? But why? How? Lance tells her, the plan was fine. The thread trap slowed me down, just as you intended. Unfortunately, that in the end, you just didn't have the power to beat me. As he has his Pokemon send out even larger torrent of bubbles that rip through Caterpie's string. As Yellow shrieks from the oncoming attack, a figure moves in, getting her out of harm's way. Yellow, in the man's arms, says, who are you? If you come to rescue me, thanks, but Lance can only be defeated by a trainer from Viridian. Figure doesn't answer, as Yellow says, that means me. But the figure, Giovanni, puts his hand on Yellow's shoulder, saying, not only you, for I am from the Viridian Forest too. Wait, you really expect me to believe that Giovanni has the power of empathy over Pokemon? I mean, he does have a great command of his Pokemon. I don't know. I don't know if I buy that one. That one's a little hard to stomach. Lance sees Giovanni, saying, you? And Giovanni stares down Lance, Yellow thinking, you're one of us? But Pikachu is immediately on guard seeing Giovanni. In Chapter 88, the Beedrill All and End All. Oof, that one was, that title was a stretch and it was painful to read. Pikachu, he starts growling at Giovanni. He just sneers at Pikachu. Yellow holds back Pikachu, saying, Pika, what's wrong? And as Yellow reads Pikachu's thoughts, she thinks, oh, Pika's memories. You fought against this man once before in the Viridian Forest. Is he an enemy or an ally? As Giovanni moves forward to face off against Lance, he just motions for Lance to come and get some. I never would have guessed that Giovanni would be helping in this situation. Lance says, what is this? What are you trying to pull? I don't care who you are. No one gets in Lance's way. Bubble Beam. The fact that the most intimidating attack that we've seen is Bubble Beam. I mean, listen, Bubble Beam's no joke. Used against the right kind of Pokemon in the right kind of situation, but still, Bubble Beam. Says the bubbles, he's attacking again. As the bubbles vanish in the air, Giovanni says, a bubble attack that becomes invisible with sunlight, huh? Rhyhorn, Horn Attack. Rhyhorn uses Horn Attack to kick up some rocks. Giovanni says, now, Stomp. Stomp does the same, creating dust in the air. Yellow thinks, oh, the boulder that was crushed by its horn. The Stomp attack is throwing it up like a sandstorm, and the sand makes the bubbles visible. Lance growls as Giovanni brings out a Pokeball saying, now that we can see the bubbles, the battle's ours. Nidoqueen, scratch. And Nidoqueen scratches out the bubbles before they can hit. Giovanni tells Nidoqueen, burst the main bubble, and Nidoqueen rushes in. But once again, the tensile strength of that big old bubble is just too much. Lance tells Giovanni, this bubble shield withstood the heat of lava. Do you think that can pop it? My turn. And he has his Pokemon use Hyper Beam, with the bubble refracting the light and doubling the power of all three Pokemon using Hyper Beam. Yellow scoops up Pikachu, rushing out of harm's way as Giovanni braces himself for the attack. Lance says, how's that? But Giovanni drops a Pokemon ball to the ground. As the Hyper Beam barrage continues on, Giovanni stays at the ready. The Pokeball Giovanni drops rolls underneath where Lance's bubble is, and Lance sees it. Giovanni says, you left the underside open. As Beedrill comes out of the Pokeball as the button is hit by rolling into a rock, which that is damn impressive. And Beedrill just rips through the bubble with Twin Needle like it's nothing. As the bubble pops, Lance falls, much to Yellow's shock. And Lance falls right into the string that Caterpie has set up before alongside his other Pokemon. Yellow thinking he downed Lance. Lance is caught up in the string as Giovanni makes his way onto the stringy, network. Lance peeks up at Giovanni saying, you're the Viridian City Gym Leader, aren't you? Giovanni says, yeah. Yellow says, the Viridian Gym Leader? I've heard of him. One of the strongest of all gym leaders. He had absolute command of his gym before it was destroyed. What's a man like that doing here? Giovanni, looking down on Lance, says, you've boasted a great deal about your unbeatable power. Care to continue? I assume you know that my specialty is ground-type Pokemon, and that I rarely venture into other types, but this Beedrill is special. This one evolved in our homeland, the Viridian Forest. He snaps his fingers, and Beedrill turns its drill to Lance's neck. Lance sneers, saying, and now? The Yellow comes up saying, Miss Giovanni, please. Giovanni simply motions Yellow to back up. As Giovanni tells Lance, you think our organization teeters on the brink of annihilation because of your attacks, you of the cursed Elite Four, but we are not so easily defeated. When the time comes, we will rise again, and you will fall. Which, that's a weird statement considering what I know from the Gold and Silver games. I'm really interested to see how those work out. Yellow thinks, organization? But Lance, still with a defiant smile, says, now I find myself against a true opponent. You're a remarkable gym leader, or should I say rather, that you deserve your role as the leader of Team Rocket. Eh, Master Giovanni? Giovanni doesn't respond, but Yellow is shocked, saying, Team Rocket? But they're evil. Once they use Pokemon to cause chaos and destruction all over the mainland. Yellow, baby girl, you've been working with Team Rocket. Lieutenant Surge, Koga, Sabrina, Team Rocket, baby. Like, what is this moral dilemma here right now? Where is this coming from? Yellow thinking, and this man is its leader. The man used my home, used the beautiful Viridian Forest to perform his evil deeds. Okay, so it's more that because Giovanni was the main one leading the charge and all of that. Okay. If I look at it from that perspective, I understand a bit more. Giovanni says, enough, the game is over. But suddenly, there's a rumbling. The waves around the island churn. Lance continues to smile. Is that a figure of a Pokemon appears in the waves or in the sky? Is that a Lugia? Is that a goddamn Lugia? What the hell? What the hell is going on? It would be hilarious if this was happening around the same time that Ash was off in the movie 2000 dealing with Lugia. What the hell though? But Giovanni still has Lance, in a very compromised position. The Lance just starts laughing, much to Giovanni's bewilderment. That is until something in Giovanni's shirt starts to move. Oh, yep. I thought it would be Red who gave it up. But because Giovanni has it on him, it's the last piece they need. Giovanni says, what? As his shirt is tugged with the, Earth badge inside. Suddenly a massive beam of light erupts from in the volcano. In Chapter 89, the might of Metapod? Metapod. Yellow says that light flashing off something. It's a trainer badge. And Dragonite suddenly bursts from the lava, freeing Lance. As he says, that's right, Giovanni, I don't have to tell you what this means. You're a gym leader. The more trainer badges you bring together, the more power you have to control Pokemon. I already had 7 of the 8 badges in hand. Giovanni's shocked as Lance says, they're hidden under the 7 stone columns that jut toward the sky from the perimeter of the island. Oh, I didn't know that was relevant. All placed so as to optimize the power I siphon from their vibrations. Boulder, Cascade, Thunder, Rainbow, Soul, Marsh, Volcano, Earth. You remember the order, don't you? Giovanni says, It can't be. Lance says, it can and it is. The entire island is one gigantic badge energy amplifier. Oh geez, with the Earth badge right in the center. A bigger amplifier, but what will he create? Lance says, the one that just flew from your chest and started to glow was the last one that I've been searching for. This amplifier is laid out so that merely bringing the badge to its midpoint would automatically release its energy. You thought that you were pushing me to the edge? Ha! I was in command. I lured you to the center of the island. Oh no, I gotta feel like you got lucky, kid. Giovanni's silent as Lance says, and now, the energy of the 8 united badges will rise, and a figure starts to appear overhead. Lance saying, until it reaches my secret weapon, the object of all my designs, the legendary spirit that appears above the island with the break of day. Legendary spirit. I feel like that is definitely a Lugia. With Green and Sabrina seems to get a psychic communication. She stops in her tracks saying, oh, Green says, something wrong, Sabrina? Sabrina says, I can feel it. The other 2 battles being fought on this island have been resolved. Lieutenant Surge and their partners must also have defeated a member of the Elite Four, and we've defeated Lorelei, meaning that most of our objectives here have been completed, and our little alliance can be dissolved. She takes her Pokemon and teleports away. Green taking off her jacket, saying, hey, she's just as self-centered as always. Well, glad she was along for the battle with Lorelei. Even so, I had to use Clefable, Horsey, Nidorina, Blastoise, and Ditto. Everybody but my ace in the hole, my 7th Pokemon, a friggin' Snubbull? We are really pushing that Gen 2 Pokemon agenda. And she says, guess you didn't have a chance to show your stuff, Snubbull? She then sees through a crack in the ceiling, saying, huh? What was... Oh, she sees the spiritual figure of a gigantic Pokemon saying, Pokemon? A gigantic Pokemon? Oh, that's not the bird that carried her off, is it? I'm pretty sure I know which bird carried her off, but maybe I'm wrong? I don't know. Green seems to realize something, saying, I have to get to it. Yellow, seeing the giant Pokemon spirit, says, oh, is that a Pokemon? Giovanni says, quite a setup you've contrived here, Lance. Well, then Giovanni just takes off. Yellow calling out to Giovanni, questioning what he's doing. Lance says, the great Giovanni is a coward. Well, at least he was brave enough to be lured here. Our assault on Vermilion City, all the troops we sent to the mainland have paid off. We have the power. Aerodactyl, carry me up there. He jumps from Dragonite to Aerodactyl, and Yellow calls out, Lance, what are you doing? Lance turns, saying, can't you tell? I'm going up to where the legendary Pokemon fly. This was my objective from the beginning, to take control of this Pokemon, to ride the one that no one has ever been able to tame. If I can control it, then not only the mainland, but the entire world will be freed from humans forever. Yellow says, turn that Pokemon against the world? No, you can't. Lance, it's insane. Don't you see how much pain and destruction you'll bring? Lance says, Dragonite, I'll be waiting for you up there, so follow me up. Dragonite gives a nod as it looms over Yellow, while Lance heads up with Aerodactyl. Yellow saying, Dragonite, please, get out of my way. I have to stop him. But suddenly Dragonite falls over. Is it the lava? Yeah, it was in there for a long time. As Dragonite tries to wobble to its feet, Yellow says, what? She uses her connection and senses, thinking, so exhausted. Of course, was in that lava all this time waiting for Lance's signal. Could Lance really not have noticed how weak it was? No, that's not it. Dragonite was hiding its condition, sacrificing itself. Dragonite tries to take off. Yellow saying it's trying to follow Lance, but it's too exhausted. She grabs onto Dragonite's tail, saying, stop, the effort will kill you. How would you do this? All this for Lance? And the Dragonite's thoughts read, my trainer fights for Pokemon. You'll punish the human enemy. I must do anything for him. Yellow thinks, I'm reading Dragonite's feelings. So you think humans are the enemy? Well, Dragonite, you're right. It's true that humans have been destroying nature, acting as though the world belongs to them alone. And you know what? Just because it appeared like this, Lugia, it's not really time for this, but Lugia is one of my favorite Pokemon of Gen 2. I'm pretty sure that's Lugia. It's true that humans have been destroying nature, acting as though the world belongs to them alone. Tearing down forests and polluting the rivers, slowly destroying the natural habitats of Pokemon. Looting and polluting is not the way. Hear what Captain Planet has to say. Sorry. Just stuff from my childhood. Of course you feel rage towards humans, but Lance is just taking advantage of those feelings. Understand why you think he's your friend, but think his way isn't the answer. Humans don't deserve punishment any more than Pokemon. Yellow's Pokemon rattle in their Pokeballs in agreement as Yellow says, humans and Pokemon can live together, I know it. You know it too, Pika, Ratty, but how do I make them believe? Omni, Dodie, Kitty, Gravy, how do I show them? Give me the power to show them, she calls out. Suddenly, Yellow is flung into the air, meeting with Lance up above the ghostly image of the Pokemon. Lance calls out, what are you doing here? And as Yellow brandishes her Caterpie and Pokeball, Aerodactyl fires off a Hyper Beam. Oh, but the beam is blocked by a Metapod. Caterpie evolved, blocking the attack from Aerodactyl. Lance thinks, a Metapod? Yellow says, now that I no longer have the Pokedex, I can't hit the cancel button. Can't stop you from evolving after battles ever again. But we're going to stop, Lance. All of you, please, lend me your power. The power to protect the world. And all of her Pokemon evolve. Well, the non-evolved ones. Doduo evolves into Dotrio. Graveler evolves into Golem, and Omnanite evolves into Omnistar. Even though I'm pretty sure none of them should have been anywhere near that level, it's hard to say because we didn't get the readout in the previous volume of what levels they were at. Actually, let me check what levels they evolve at. Omnistar, Metapod, and Dotrio. Yeah, Omnistar comes at level 40, which actually, no. Omnanite was about, yeah. And Caterpie would evolve into Metapod. Honestly, if Caterpie got enough levels, it should evolve into a Butterfree soon. Now, Doduo evolving into Dodrio. That one's a bit of a stretch. Because Doduo, I don't know, it was at a pretty dang low level, even after the training session. And Doduo only evolves into Dodrio at level 31. I don't know, I don't fully believe that Doduo was that high leveled. The others, I could kind of believe it. Because Graveler and Omnanite came from, gym leaders and they were pretty high up there. They were in the 30s. But, yeah, the Dodrio's the one that I'm, having a bit of a hard time believing. Oh, and then Metapod evolves too into Butterfree. See, that I can believe, because honestly, Caterpie, definitely would have been at that point. Lance says, evolving 2 levels? And as Butterfree lifts Yellow into the air, Yellow calls out, Lance, I'm coming. That's got a badass. Alright, this is it. The final chapter. As Yellow and her Pokemon, who are on the back of the spirit of the legendary Pokemon, fly in the skies above, ready to face off against Lance, Yellow rushes forward, flying thanks to the power of Butterfree. Which, I love the fact that it's a Butterfree helping her. Ash giving up his Butterfree will always be a shame. Yellow flies forward saying, I'll stop you. Lance says, so now you can fly? They fly now? They fly now. Lance says, well, it still won't be enough. Gyarados, Dragonair. Humans are the enemy of Pokemon. In order to punish them, I must have the power of that Pokemon. Yellow says, you're wrong. Humans and Pokemon are partners. I will protect both our world. Lance calls to his Pokemon, destroy them, as he roars forth. And Yellow says no, as she commands her Pokemon to strike, as she roars forth as well. And from the looks of it, Lance has Aerodactyl use Supersonic, and Butterfree does the same. Wow. In Chapter 90, The Legend. That's a hell of a title. Both Lance and Yellow are knocked back from the 2 attacks hitting. Lance has Dragonite use Hyper Beam, while Yellow has Omnistar use Ice Beam. The 2 clash. Lance has Dragonair use Fall and Slam, I guess, while Yellow has Golem use Defense Curl. Aerodactyl tries to strike at Yellow with its wing, but it's countered by Omnistar. I love that Yellow is kind of brandishing Omnistar on her arm like a friggin' shield. That's kind of badass. But Lance sneers down at her saying, how long can this battle of shields last? Yellow says, until you see the truth. And Lance says, in minutes, the legendary Pokemon will have devoured all this energy. And then, with a single flap of its wings, it will render all the troops that we've sent into every land under its absolute control. And I will control it. We're almost there. I can see it now, Dragonite. Dragonite gives a nod. Lance says, the magnificent new world that we will create. A world for Pokemon alone. Free from humans. Dragonite lets out a Hyper Beam right towards Yellow. Yellow braces herself I think she uses her powers to let out the string from her cast downward towards one of the little, I shouldn't be making this gesture, the rock formations around the island where one of the badges is. How is she going to try to grab it from one of them? Yellow says, Pika, Rage, Bide. Pikachu launches towards Lance, but Aerodactyl just whaps it away, Lance saying, pathetic. But as Yellow catches Pikachu flying thanks to Butterfree, she mentally communicates with Pikachu, saying, Pika, those are Pika's memories. Pika's most lost memories are coming back. Pika saw Red's battle with the Elite Four, saw the power generated by the coming together of the badges, and caught on to their plans. Okay, so Pikachu did catch on. Dang. Pika is smarter than I gave it credit for. It's impossible to stop the flow of the energy. The only way to counter it is to hit it with a power greater than the energy and blast it away. If everyone comes together, maybe. If we can blast the energy away from the badges, we can stop Lance's madness. Oh, and suddenly, in the cavern, Red, Blue, and Green all run into each other, all saying, hey. Green says, Red, so you were safe. Blue saying, looks like you got your life back. Red smiles nervously saying, I guess you could say that. Blue says, we don't have time to talk. First, we've got to get outside. Outside, Blaine finally starts to stir, seeing the thread that Yellow had let down. He says, this thread, only for Red to come in reaching for the thread. Bill saying, Green, Blue, Red, all of you, you're safe. Red comes over and pats Blaine on the back saying, yep, defeated Bruno, then ran here as fast as I could. But what's that thing up there? Blaine says, there's a thread coming down from above. Could it mean that Yellow's up there too? We're up against Lance, the leader of the Elite Four, and that huge Pokemon is Lance's ultimate weapon. Red, Blue, and Green all nod at each other and bring out their fully evolved starters. Charizard, Blastoise and Venusaur, and they have all three of their Pokemon unleash all their elemental attacks. Red says, send all your power up there along this thread, and the power of all three Pokemon come up next to where Yellow is. Yellow thinks this power is from the other Pokemon. Yellow clenches her fists and calls out for Pikachu, and Pikachu adds its power to the combined force of the other starter Pokemon. Yellow thinking, I call upon the power of the Viridian Forest. Give us the power of Megavolt! And with their powers combined, they fry Lance's ass. Oh, that's a great scene. And Pikachu just keeps on loading on Lance, hitting him hard. Lance, being struck and hard, has a very sad flashback to a lot of the devastation because of the construction, the Pokemon on the verge of death, Lance mourning over the harm that was caused, holding a baby Dratini, swearing vengeance with young eyes. But in present day, Lance says too much as he's overwhelmed by the power, and up above in the sky the power surges and explodes. Giovanni looks to the sky saying, no great surprise. I didn't think Lance would be any match for that. Suddenly, flowers grow across the island. Giovanni says, flowers? Yellow's mysterious power seems to have transformed to deflecting energies of the badges. Now this island too will be lush with plant life. Not that it does me any good, he says as he walks off. Suddenly, Lieutenant Surge and Sabrina show up. Surge saying, boss, wait, I knew we'd meet again, boss. As you can see, we've been getting things ready for the organization to rise up again. Now's the time to strike back. Together. But Giovanni says, Lieutenant Surge and Sabrina. I take it Koga is afraid to show his face. Does getting ready for the resurrection mean seeking help in defeating the Elite Four from children? Which, I mean, you say that, but these children kicked all of your collective asses, so I don't understand what the problem is here, but I think we're leading into where we find Giovanni in Gold and Silver. Serge says, but boss! Giovanni says, I'm still in the middle of a training journey, seeking to build up my own strength enough to realize my plan. I suggest you go home for now. Tend to your own gym. And Giovanni just walks off, much to the bewilderment of Surge. Giovanni looks back to the sky saying, the Megavolt, 10 times more powerful than the Thunderbolt. Oh, don't I know it. Although you can only use it so many times, from what I remember, but every time you use it, it counts. Oh, it counts, baby. Oh, is there even one among us who can produce that much power as red or yellow? Look, the deflecting energy can even reach the mainland. Oh yeah, and the power radiates all across Kanto to where Misty, Erica, Brock are still battling. Erica, they shield their eyes from the light. Erica questions, what happened? Brock and Misty see plants growing all around. Misty saying, it can't be. The whole range from northwest Cerulean to the Rock Mountains has been a wasteland from industrial ruins. The Mankey from before, and the Primate from before, all cheer from the lush forests. While the Shelder, the Machoke, the Gengar, and Ghastly all just fall over. Missy saying the forces of the Elite Four are losing their powers. Something must have happened to the trainers. Erica says, as if their power of destruction has somehow been transformed into powers of life. And this really is the end of Pokemon the Movie 2000, as the energy continues to radiate from the legendary Pokemon above, and Yellow's attack. Yellow is breathing heavily and looks towards the spirit, who looks back at her. Yellow says, you warmed the light, releasing all the energy from the badges. I'm glad. Yellow faints, with Butterfree doing its best to hold her aloft, while Red comes up with Aerodactyl, cradling Yellow in his arms. Yellow seems to awake in Viridian Forest, saying, where am I? I thought I was high above Cersei Island. She looks to her side, saying, Pika's gone. Ratty, do you know where Pika is? Ratty shakes his head. Yellow and Ratty go racing off, saying, Pika, where are you? She hears a rustling in the brush, and goes over saying, is that you, Pika? Only to find Dotrio. She says, no, you're Dodie. While Golem and Omnistar come out, she says, Gravy? Omni? And Butterfree comes over saying, and Can it be Kitty? She looks around at her Pokemon saying, y'all look so different. Oh, of course, you evolved. Omnistar tugs at her shirt and races off with her. Yellow saying, you're telling me to come over here? Yellow finds Pikachu saying, Pika, come on, Pika, come here. Pikachu with a worried look goes racing off. Yellow says, hey, Pika, wait! And she continues to chase Pikachu, and then goes leaping into Red's arms. But while she watches Red and Pikachu nuzzle each other, Yellow smiles saying, Pika, that's right, you're Red's Pokemon. We were together for so long I'd forgotten. But she lays down to nap with her Pokemon, back before they had all evolved, well, except for Ratty, saying, but let's stay like like we were before, just for a little while longer. Oh, this is starting to feel kind of bittersweet. I'm starting to actually feel kind of sad. Suddenly, Yellow actually awakens as she finds herself riding on Gyarados next to Red with Green and Bill in the back, while Blue's off to the side on his Golduck. Red saying, hey there, you awake? Yellow says, oh no, I fell asleep again. Well, what about Lance and that huge Pokemon? Red says, you blasted Lance away. That Pokemon flew off to the Midwest. Green says, I just talked to the mainland. Apparently the Elite Four's army lost its power as soon as Lance was out of the picture. Bill says, oh, quite remarkable. Yellow had canceled her Pokemon's evolutions again and again. Once they were finally allowed to evolve, the results was miraculous. Even Golem, which usually only evolves when traded. Oh, I didn't even know that. So I guess they were leveled up thanks to all the situations she had been in. Dang, I guess she really did go through a lot. Man, I really wish we did get those stats at the end of the last volume. I mean, maybe they were there and they just weren't in the version that I had? I don't know. Bill says, hey, Green. Green turns, questioning what he wants. Bill, why are you hanging off in the water? Bill says, it's about, what's underneath Yellow's hat. You already know. Blaine says he's seen it already, and I'm sure Blue figured it out while he was training with her. He's pretty sharp. Does that mean only Red doesn't know? Green says, yep. Oh, Bill asks, well, why didn't you tell him? Green says, I suppose because it's so much more fun waiting for him to guess. He just laughs and Bill is just stone silent. Oh, Blue just thinks, what an obnoxious girl. Red pats Yellow on the head, saying, the battle's over. Great job, Yellow. Thanks for everything. So, what to do, huh, Pika? I'd love to travel with Pika again. But it really seems to like you too. Maybe we should just all live together. Just kidding, he says, with Yellow blushing from embarrassment, with Red not noticing that there seems to be the last little bit of string connecting her pinky to Red's, which, the string of fate? Maybe when they're older. And Red really hasn't had much of a love interest. Well, I mean, he kind of had a bit of a thing going on with Misty, but that kind of got pushed to the side. And they're only so far apart in age, but one thing that hasn't really been at the forefront of all of this is romance. So I don't really know if they'll actually follow through on what they're kind of hinting here, but who knows? But the gang ride off on Gyarados away from Cersei Island. The narration reads, and so the story of Yellow Caballero and the battle with the Elite Four came to a close. Yellow, Red, Green, and Blue reunited with Misty and the others on the mainland. They all poured their energies into rebuilding the ravaged cities. The rest of our characters turned to their own separate paths, facing new goals. It's interesting that Super Nerd Miles is kind of counted amongst the heroes, that, I don't know how to feel about that one. Lieutenant Surge and Sabrina followed Giovanni's orders and returned to their respective gyms. Oddly enough, not being arrested by the police for... Then again, they did help, save the region, so maybe they got a bit of a pardon for that. It's just like, keep your noses clean, and we won't come back to arrest you. Of what happened to Koga and Giovanni themselves, however, nothing is yet known. I'm interested considering where Koga ends up, I'm curious how that's gonna work out. So time flows, and the stories never truly end. I feel like they felt like this was gonna be the end. And we then pick up with Green in some unknown lab saying, hello, it's me, Green. Yes, I'm doing great. By the way, I have a mission for you right now. Yep, just like your intel stated, Lance was trying to capture a large flying type Pokemon, but I have no idea if that was the Pokemon that kidnapped me or not. Afterwards, it disappeared west towards Johto. Oh. Name drop. So I'd like for you to continue your investigation. I'm counting on you, Silver. Silver says, understood, as he hangs up his Pokegear, as we can see that he's over by a mysterious tower with all new Pokemon surrounding it. To be continued. And so Yellow's very great Pokemon journey has come to an end. I'm actually kind of satisfied with that, because Yellow really stuck it out towards the end. You know, Yellow had something really special about her that helped her really rise to the occasion where most people in her situation might not have been able to. You know, despite the fact that she's not really about evolving and all that good stuff, she went against her nature in order to do the right thing. Whereas Lance was too consumed with wanting to do the right thing that he did a lot of the wrong things, which I've been there. It sucks. But considering that Johto's where a whole mess of story stuff happens, especially in regards to a lot of characters from the Kanto region, I really do have to wonder, because knowing what I know about the likes of Giovanni, Silver, Koga, and even Red, they all factor into Johto in very interesting ways. So I'm very interested in how much time will pass for the next adventure, when we'll see a lot of the characters next. I mean, even the likes of Blue appears, but in a different capacity. Yeah, see, the Pokemon are evolved now, but they don't even give levels to them. Like, I actually kind of liked when we gave levels to the Pokemon and all that good stuff. And that's kind of a bummer. But I had a great time watching Yellow grow, change, do what she thought was right at every turn, doing the best she could, you know, understanding where she needed to compromise or where she just absolutely couldn't, you know? That connection with Giovanni was interesting. But the thing is, I don't think Giovanni has the power. For a second I thought maybe he did. It's just like, oh no, he's just from Viridian, which makes a good deal of sense. And why wouldn't he be the gym leader of Viridian otherwise? But I think you can be a gym leader of a place that you're not originally from, I think. But, was it something about the battle that changed Giovanni's mind about rising Team Rocket up? Or I have to wonder, was it just that he was kind of postulating at first? That's interesting. That's very interesting. You know, the end was kind of yada yada because of that narration and all that, and I would have liked to have at least had maybe a chapter that was really just showing a lot of the things that we were narrated to about. But I don't know. It keeps a bit of mystique too, so it's not the worst thing. But it was also a lot of fun. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Not a lot I can really say about it because it's mostly just all, how does this affect things going forward? Now, I have great memories of Johto and just, man, Johto's gonna be fun. Johto's gonna be fun. I cannot wait. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I hope to see you in Johto. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.